Part 123. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1221. The Sea of Chaos is not calm. On the third day after Xiaoping'an went to sea with Zheng He's fleet, he saw the terrifying side of the Sea of Chaos. There was a clan of sea monsters in the sea that would attack any target that wanted to pass through the Sea of Chaos. The Kraken looks like a combination of a mutant mermaid and a scavenger. It is covered in gray-black scales, with wings growing on its back, a mouth full of sharp fangs, and hands. It can use cold weapons. The combat power of a Kraken is actually not that great. It's not strong, but what's scary is that there are too many sea monsters in the Sea of Chaos. This is a huge population. They will suddenly jump out of the sea, fly in the air like flying fish, and attack people or ships across the sea in groups. However, Zheng He's fleet appeared to be exceptionally calm and well trained when facing the Kraken's attack. Before the Kraken launches an attack, the yin and yang officials in the fleet can predict the approximate time and number of the Kraken's attack through a strict divination system, such as weather, sea currents, good or bad luck in the passage of time, tortoise shells, and other objects. Then, the fleet's flagship will send a signal, and each ship in the fleet will be ready for battle. Each ship in the fleet is protected by powerful talismans and formations. Foreign objects cannot invade the entire fleet under the water. This prevents the Kraken from attacking the fleet from the bottom of the sea. It can only jump out of the sea and attack the fleet from the air. When the Kraken strikes in the future, all non-combatant personnel such as fire chiefs, civilian crewmen, helmsmen, squadmen, generals, clerks, scribes, etc. on each ship in the fleet will be evacuated from the deck. The officers, flag troops, warriors, sailors, and others all entered combat positions. When the sea monsters began to attack from the air, from a distance of 1,000 meters, the thunder cannons in the fleet would complete the first attack on the sea monsters in the air. A wave of long-range strikes. After the sea monsters passed through the attack of the thunderbolt cannons and got a little closer to the fleet, the artillery in the fleet began to fire. Zheng He's fleet was equipped with a large number of copper and iron artillery. The iron sand-filled cannons fired, you can beat the sea monsters in the nearby airspace like dumplings and fall into the sea one after another. When the sea monsters passed through the blockade of the artillery net and got closer to the fleet, it was the turn of the firecrackers on the fleet to show off their power. Warriors and sailors stood in rows on the deck holding firecrackers. In a three-stage attack, he fired fiercely at the sea monsters. This is the fleet's third line of defense. There are not many Kraken who can pass through these three lines of defense and approach the fleet. When the Kraken truly approaches the ship, under the protection of shields and armor, the other warriors waiting on the ship will use their hooks, and hooks. Javelins, ghost-headed swords, bows, and crossbows were greeted with a roar. Amidst the violent winds and waves of the Sea of Chaos, the warriors and sailors on the ship sang neat battle chants, laughed one by one, and faced the sea monster, hot weapons and cold weapons with fearless heroism and passion. The coordination of the weapons reached a perfect level, killing the sea monsters who attacked the fleet and defeating them. Such a scene infected Xiaoping'an, and he couldn't help but join the battle. He took a hook and sickle gun and fought with the fleet. The brave sailors killed the sea monster together. The brave sailors in the fleet who were injured in the battle would soon be carried off by the healers in the fleet. After being treated by the healers, they would soon return to the battlefield alive and well. Those sailors and warriors whose injuries were more serious and could make doctors helpless would be sent to Zheng He. At this time, Zheng He would take out a golden box from his body and open it solemnly. In the box, there would be a heart shaped like a treasure with brilliant teeth. Just by being illuminated by the treasure's light, sailors and warriors, no matter how seriously injured, can recover immediately. The treasure in that box, Zheng He said, was the most important treasure he received overseas during his several voyages to the West, the tooth relic of the Buddha. Under the blessing of the Buddha's tooth relic, everyone in Zheng He's fleet, to a certain extent, became as powerful as the Immortal Legion. Xiaoping'an and Zheng He's fleet sailed on the Sea of Chaos for more than 2 months and experienced more than 10 battles. One day more than 2 months later, Zheng He's fleet sailed to a sea area in the Sea of Chaos. There is a Mayan-style golden pyramid with a circumference of more than 20 kilometers, standing in the sea, like a golden mountain, and on the top of the pyramid, there is a huge space portal, shining brightly, hundreds of miles away on the sea. Can see. Climb this pyramid and pass through the space portal on the top of the pyramid, and you will be able to leave the Sea of Chaos. Behind that space portal is the last test of the Yuanji Temple, the endless maze. I wish you good luck, Zheng He said to Xiaoping'an. Thank you Mr. Zheng and all the brothers in the fleet for escorting us. See you later. After Xiaoping'an said goodbye to everyone in the fleet, he got on a small boat put down from the treasure ship. The sailor who was driving the boat took Xiaoping'an to the edge of the pyramid. Xiaoping'an jumped out of the boat, climbed up the steps of the pyramid, and followed the steps. Walked directly to the top of the pyramid step by step. When Xiaoping'an reached the top, he looked back. On the sea, Zheng He and his fleet were still staying. On Zheng He's treasure ship flagship, the Sun and Moon flag of the Ming dynasty was raised again. Zheng He stood on the highest deck of the treasure ship. Hai Linfen looked at himself from a distance and waved to himself. The loud horn sound that sounded in the fleet at this time was the final farewell. Goodbye, the Ming dynasty's invincible fleet, goodbye, the warriors who measured the entire planet. Xiaoping'an waved to Zheng He and the fleet, turned around and walked into the space portal behind him. Various lights flashed in front of his eyes. When those lights disappeared, Xiaoping'an found that he was in a strange place. This place was a huge circular hall. He was in the middle of the hall, and around the hall, there were 2 portals, right in front of him, one on the left and one on the right. The 2 portals at the back were 2 spatial passages. The 2 portals are still changing colors alternately, one red and one basket. This is the most complex endless maze in the Yuanji Temple. No wonder this level requires top divination skills to pass. With the layout here, ordinary divination skills are useless. Xiaoping'an looked around with an expression. He immediately became serious. Among the 2 portals in this hall, only one is correct. If you walk into the correct portal, you can enter the next level of the maze. The other portal is wrong, and you can enter the wrong portal. There are only 2 results. Those who are lucky will be teleported out of the Yuanji Temple and cannot enter again. Those who are unlucky and step into the door of death when they die will be dead. The colors of the 2 portals are changing, which means the correctness or incorrectness of these 2 portals changes with time. The innate wisdom in Xiaoping'an's eyes was turning rapidly. He stared at the 2 portals for a while, then walked directly over. When the portal on the left lit up with red light, he entered the portal on the left in one step. After a second, the red light dissipated, and Xiaoping'an, who had passed through the portal, found that he had come to another hall. This hall was slightly larger than the previous hall, and the number of portals in the hall became 4, larger than the previous one. There are twice as many as one, and the brilliance on each portal is constantly changing. After locking a portal, Xiaoping'an entered it again. The third, larger hall appeared in front of Xiaoping'an, and the number of portals in the hall in front of him became 8. The difficulty of divination has doubled compared to the last time. If it is purely based on luck, the possibility of entering the correct portal by chance here is only 1 in 8. Sure enough, the simpler things will be, the more difficult they will be. If you play according to the rules of this maze, it will become more difficult as you go to the end. At the end, the chance of finding the correct door by luck is almost 0. Xiaoping'an's face became serious. Getting up, he took a deep breath and stepped into a portal again. The portal of the 4th hall has become 16. The hall of the 5th portal has become 32. When Xiaoping'an passed through the maze portal for the 18th time, What appeared in front of him was a starry sky. In this starry sky, there were 262,144 portals in front of him. Based on his feeling, Xiaopingan knew that this should be the last level of the maze. The correct portal was just one of the 262,144 portals. Golden Summoner. Author, Zy Chapter 1222. 262,144 portals. Although he was prepared in his heart, Xiaopingan still took a slight breath when looking at the starry sky in front of him. At this moment, his body was floating in the starry sky, as if floating in water. The 262,144 portals in the starry sky around him were like seeds on a pile of sunflowers, layered on top of each other. The circle is unfolding. In this case, let alone finding the correct portal, ordinary people will feel dizzy and trapped by countless portals just by taking a look here. What's even more difficult is that these 262,144 portals are also changing with various brilliance, which means that the correct door is also changing over time, which makes this level the difficulty has reached the point of abnormality. The maximum number of divination portals that the innate Great Wisdom Emperor's Divine Light can lock in a period of time is 129,600, but the number of these portals in front of him far exceeds the number that Xiaopingan can lock with divination at this moment. This means that even if for Xiaopingan, it is not easy to find the right one among the 262,144 portals in front of him. It will take a lot of effort at least and requires special skills to lock the right one. And just when Xiaopingan was still calculating the location of the correct portal, a cold murderous aura-like array of light on his back rose into the sky behind Xiaopingan. Hey, Xiaopingan, are you finally here? I've been waiting for you for a long time. The voice of the dominating demon god's clone appeared in Xiaopingan's ears. Xiaopingan's heart was shocked. He slowly turned around and looked in the direction of the sound. He saw that more than 200 meters away from him, the clone of the dominant demon slowly walked out from behind a portal, blood red. His eyes, his face that was so perfect that no trace of a flaw could be found, and the blood-red giant sword he was holding in his hand. The body of the dominating demon god clone was full of overwhelming murderous aura, and the corner of his mouth was raised. With a cold smile, it looked like he had complete control over Xiaopingan's life and death. Xiaopingan calmly looked at the clone of the dominant demon god, and suddenly smiled. It seems that in the Yuanji temple, there is more than one path leading to the final level. Of course, so no matter how cunning you are, as long as I stay here, you will automatically come to the door. This time, let's see where you run, the dominant demon said. Raising his hand and exerting force on his foot, he headed towards Xiaopingan slid over. Xiaopingan was also retreating slowly, maintaining a tactical distance from the dominant demon god. However, Xiaopingan's expression showed no fear or panic. He had always been very calm. You have been waiting for so long in the last level of Yuanji temple. It should be. With your avatar's divination skills, you can't find the only portal here. If you had the ability to find that portal, you should have gone in long ago, and you wouldn't have to wait for me here. Yes, among the more than 200,000 portals, I really can't find the correct portal, the clone of the dominant demon said disapprovingly, speeding up a little more, and the smile on the corner of his mouth became more obvious. The giant sword has been raised, pointing directly at Xiaopingan. In fact, I have come to this last level many times before, and every time I come, I stop here, but it doesn't matter. The current situation is that if you can find the portal, it means I have found it. If we go in together, the Chaos Yuanji lock will still be mine. You can't compete with me. If you can't find it, my purpose of coming here will be achieved. You are here. Either be killed by me, or you can only find a door to escape and leave Yuanji temple, so no matter how you look at it, I win this level. If you escape now, you may have a chance to enter again in the future here. Ha 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 ha. Xiaopinggan laughed loudly, and the speed of his retreat was also accelerating. His whole body passed directly between the two doors. After all, you still feel guilty, afraid that I will find that door. You are even more afraid that I will take down the Chaos Yuanji lock. You say it well, but you don't have the confidence to win. In this case, I can't leave. Since you don't want to leave, then die. The avatar of the dominant demon god condensed his eyes, and the murderous aura on his body suddenly surged. He opened his mouth and sprayed a mouthful of blood on the blood-red giant sword in his hand, and then the giant sword the light surged, and the master demon god's clone swung, and the giant sword turned into a streak of blood and flew towards Xiaopinggan's neck. Xiaopinggan knew that the avatar of the dominant demon god must have a trump card, so he had been secretly on guard. Even if the two people's realms were suppressed to this extremely low level, Xiaopinggan did not relax his vigilance. When he saw the sword light attack come, the long whip in Xiaopinggan's hand flew out violently, pointed towards the doorpost of a nearby portal, and quickly moved sideways in the other direction. The blood light transformed from the giant sword came from Xiaopinggan flashed past Xiaopinggan. After flying more than 10 meters, he made a turn in the air and slashed towards Xiaopinggan again. The clone of the dominant demon god also quickly rushed towards Xiaopinggan. The flying giant sword, it became a tool for the master demon god's clone to close the distance with Xiaopinggan. But this time, the clone of the dominant demon god obviously miscalculated, because just when the blood light transformed from the giant sword struck for the second time, Xiaopinggan had already rushed to the side of a portal. Xiaopinggan turned around directly, holding with a wave of the two steel whips, like two snakes, they wrapped themselves around Xiaopinggan's palms and forearms in circles, as if they were wearing a layer of iron gloves on Xiaopinggan's hands. Just when the bloody light of the giant sword was about to hit Xiaopinggan's chest, Xiaopinggan's eyes flashed, and with a loud roar, he grabbed the blood-red blade of the giant sword with both hands, like two huge pliers. Grabbed the steel bar that had just come out of the oven. In just an instant, the harsh creaking sound of steel friction was heard. At the same time, the contact between the steel whip and the giant sword in Xiaopinggan's hands also turned blood red. The two weapons were like refined steel, directly sticking together. The giant sword struggled, making a harsh scream, and still wanted to stab Xiaopinggan's chest. The momentum was as if it wanted to cut Xiaopinggan into two pieces. Go! Xiaopinggan grabbed the giant sword, made a flexible half-turn while retreating, used his strength, and swung the giant sword together with the two steel whips wrapped around Xiaopinggan's hands. Within the portal that Xiaopinggan was sent to his side, the two weapons were annihilated and disappeared behind the portal. At the same time, the clone of the dominant demon god rushed over with red eyes and roared. His hands were suddenly covered with black scales, and the 10 fingers of his hands also grew black blades that were more than a foot long and as sharp as a knife. With one claw, he grabbed Xiaopinggan's head. 5 sharp rays of energy surged in the void, causing Xiaopinggan's hair to fly. Xiaopinggan jumped up and kicked the wrist of the Dominator Demon God's clone. The clone only retreated slightly, but Xiaopinggan was knocked upside down by the huge force. Even without weapons, I can kill you with my bare hands. The clone of the dominant demon roared. Ha ha ha. Xiaopinggan laughed loudly. Have you forgotten that I am still a top weapon refiner? As a weapon refiner, I will always have a final weapon on my body no matter what. Amidst the laughter, Xiaopinggan patted the belt around his waist, let out a choking dragon roar, and a sword light spurted out from his belt and appeared in his hand. The next second, Xiaopinggan did not retreat but advanced, charging directly. Facing the clone of the dominant demon god, the soft sword in his hand shook, and a ball of bright sword light exploded from Xiaopinggan's hand, suddenly covering the clone of the dominant demon god. The dominating demon god's clone waved his hands, his fingers kept flicking, and the black light collided fiercely with Xiaopinggan's sword light. Dang 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 dang. After a fierce fight, 5 blood marks appeared on Xiaopinggan's body, and 3 sword wounds appeared on the body of the dominating demon god. Both of them saw blood, but their fighting spirit was stronger. After only a short separation, just like two meteors, violently colliding together again. Xiaopinggan originally wanted to kill the clone of the dominant demon god here, but he found that the clone of the dominant demon god was too strong, and the recovery power of the body of the dominant demon god's clone was actually better than his own. Despite the minor scars, the dominating demon god's clone was able to gradually recover during the battle. In comparison, his recovery speed is actually slightly slower than that of the dominating demon god's clone. If the fight continues like this, the result will be detrimental to you. In this case, Xiaopinggan could only fight the clone of the dominant demon while wandering in the void, looking for the only portal out of the maze among the 262,144 portals in the void. That portal is his vitality, is also his chance to win. But the clone of the dominant demon fell into madness. Not only did that clone want to kill Xiaopinggan here, but it also wanted to take Xiaopinggan and roll into any void portal several times. After more than 2 hours of bloody battle, Xiaopinggan finally locked on the only portal. After a head-on collision with the clone of the demon lord, he took advantage of the opportunity to retreat and plunged into the portal, and the lord, seeing this, the demon's clone, didn't waste even half a second, chasing Xiaopinggan and rushing into the portal. Boom! Xiaopinggan walked through the portal and suddenly appeared in a void of white light. The moment he came here, Xiaopinggan was shocked because he discovered that his body, the original power that had been completely suppressed by Yuanji Temple, had been fully restored the moment he entered here. The powerful power of the god reappeared on Xiaopinggan's body again, and the wounds left by the avatar of the dominant demon god on his body were all healed in less than a second when his strength was fully restored. The clone of the dominant demon god appeared in the void hundreds of kilometers away at about the same time. Just for a moment, the clone of the dominant demon god sensed the abnormality here, and then laughed wildly, and an extremely brilliant bloody halo of the god appeared in the dominator. Behind the head of the demon god's clone, an unimaginably powerful divine aura appeared on the demon god's clone. Ha ha ha! The clone of the dominant demon laughed wildly, as if he had encountered a surprise. Xiaopinggan, you are destined to die in my hands. Now that you and I have recovered our strength, let's see who can save you here. In the realm of gods, I can also. While laughing wildly, the divine halo behind the head of the dominating demon god's clone suddenly burned. With a bang, the blood-colored divine halo turned into bloody divine fire and soared into the sky. The dominating demon god's clone instantly expanded tenfold. A huge demonic image more than 10,000 meters high, with fierce flames raging into the sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1223. On top of the godhead of the Wanyao position, there are also two godheads of the Kongxiu position and the Jishan position. At this moment, the avatar of the dominant demon god is under the secret method of the realm of transformation, and 81 rays of divine flames condense into a ball of blazing bloody divine fire. Almost in the blink of an eye, the aura of the dominating demon god's clone revealed the powerful pressure and momentum of the supreme godhead sweeping everything. The light and shadow of a huge blood-colored altar appeared at the feet of the dominating demon god's clone. The entire 9-layer bloody space of the light wheel slowly rotated behind the dominating demon god. On the space light wheel, there were countless scenes of abyss and hell. The creatures were rising and wailing in it, and balls of bloody flames poured out from the light wheel, filling the void with a terrifying aura, approaching Xiaopinggan like a flood. The appearance of the dominating demon god has also turned into a terrifying image with 9 heads and hundreds of arms. Each of the dominating demon god's arms holds various magical weapons and is waving them in the void. It looks simply invincible. This is the top state of the dominating demon god's clone. At this time, Xiaopinggan looked at the avatar of the dominant demon god, but he seemed unusually calm. He had not even entered the state of becoming a god, just like a person in the audience watching the performance of the people on the stage. His eyes were sharp, cold, and even a little mocking. Xiaopingyan, have you given up resistance? It's still too late for you to kneel down and beg for mercy. The clone of the dominating demon god smiled ferociously, its voice vibrating in the void, with the confidence to control everything, and a sense of violence that was toying with its prey. Arrogance reaches the extreme, and it's really close to stupidity. Xiaopingyan spoke, shaking his head slightly. Do you know why we have restored our full strength here? Do you know where this place is? The heads of the avatars of the dominant demon god were turning, and their ferocious eyes were looking at the void with only white light in doubt, while other eyes and faces were staring at Xiaopingyan fiercely. What do you mean? What do you think? How can I let you go with just a few words? Don't worry, no one can save you here. The entire Yuanji temple is affected by the chaos Yuanji lock. Everyone who enters it will have their strength blocked. But after we broke through the Yuanji labyrinth and came here, we have arrived at the core area of the Yuanji temple. On the contrary, our strength completely recovered and no longer affected by the chaos Yuanji lock. Do you know why? The expression of the clone of the dominant demon suddenly changed, as if he had thought of something. Haha, it seems that you also understand. There is a saying that the extremes of things must reverse, and the negative pole and the yang arise. In the entire Yuanji temple, well, it should be within the scope of the power of the Dao artifact like the Chaos Yuanji lock. The only thing that can make us the place where strength is restored is within the keyhole of the Great Avenue artifact called the Chaos Yuanji lock. The keyhole of the Chaos Yuanji lock is the place where the cathode and yang of the Great Avenue artifact arise, and it is also the entrance where the Chaos Yuanji lock devours all things. Xiaopingyan shook his head. We should be in the most dangerous place inside the Chaos Yuanji lock, the Dao artifact, and you are using the way of transformation to condense the divine fire, and you are still showing off your power here, because you think you are dead. It's not fast enough. I bet you that not only can you not kill me now, you can't even touch a hair on my head, because you have been targeted by the Chaos Yuanji lock. Here, the first one to die will definitely be you, not you. The clone of the dominant demon god glanced around, and the expressions in each eye were fierce. Under a loud roar, the magical weapons on the clone of the dominant demon god suddenly swung up, bursting out with all their strength, without saying a word, hit Xiaopingyan hard. In an instant, a bloody giant sword tens of thousands of meters long cut through the void and headed towards Xiaopingyan's head. Thousands of black thunders crashed down, heading towards Xiaopingyan's head. Billions of black god-destroying arrows were shot towards Xiaopingyan. The giant hammer, which was like a hill and was like lightning, struck at Xiaopingyan's head with terrifying speed. And the world-destroying demonic flame rolling on the dominating demon god's clone is like a rolling flood, rushing through the void and roaring towards Xiaopingyan. The powerful attack of the dominating demon god's clone caused the earth to collapse. The dominating demon god's clone released its strongest attack in an instant, which was about to annihilate Xiaopingyan in one blow. Under the extreme godhead, almost no gods can resist, especially for Xiaopingyan, who has not yet revealed his true form. The move of the dominating demon is like trying to annihilate a mortal with the force of a landslide. Facing the attacks from the dominating demon god's clone, Xiaopingyan's expression remained calm, without even blinking. However, all the attacks from the dominating demon god's clone almost fell on Xiaopingyan, especially the ones that bombarded from the sky. When the largest bolt of lightning was less than 3 feet away from Xiaopingyan's head, everything in the space froze for an instant. Then, the earth-shattering attacks that were about to hit Xiaopingyan not only failed to get closer to Xiaopingyan. Pingyan, on the other hand, is strangely getting further and further away from Xiaopingyan. The space around Xiaopingyan is getting bigger and bigger. This is a change in time and space that is difficult to describe accurately with words. The space is like an invisible spring, constantly spurting out from around Xiaopinggan. The space is getting taller, bigger, and wider, and the various dimensions of the space are rapidly expanding. Those attacks that want to hit Xiaopinggan will naturally become farther away from Xiaopinggan. For just a moment, Xiaopinggan remained motionless, but the straight line distance between him and the dominating demon god's clone had expanded to more than 100,000 kilometers. What's even more shocking is that while the distance between Xiaopinggan and the dominating demon god's clone was widened, the terrifying attack of the dominating demon god's clone was actually melted and swallowed up bit by bit in the void. The void is like a dry sponge encountering a sudden splash of water, and it directly absorbs and swallows the water completely. Roar! The face of the dominating demon god's clone changed. He roared angrily, and endless bloody flames erupted from his body. He wanted to rush towards Xiaopinggan and continue to kill Xiaopinggan. From a distance of more than 100,000 kilometers, he was facing the dominating demon god. For the avatar, it is not a difficult distance to cross the domain. But just when the avatar of the dominating demon god wanted to use his divine skills to cross the distance of more than 100,000 kilometers, the space around him solidified and twisted. The avatar of the dominating demon god was directly trapped in place, with countless gray-black tentacles. It stretched out from the void, stuck to the space, turned into countless thorns, and turned into a heavy cage, which also firmly trapped the clone of the dominant demon. The gray-black tentacles are like flowing gray-black mud squeezed out from the void, like gray-black mist, gray-black sand dunes, and gray-black floods. They are between material and non-material, like it is an illusory light and shadow, but also like a real substance, pouring out from the void, endless, more and more, rolling and expanding, like a surging mudslide, or like a rolling sand dune. Without any shape, it could change into any shape, and the clones of the dominating demon god poured in from all directions. The dominating demon god's clone roared, and various secret techniques and attacks blasted toward the gray-black mud pouring out of the void like fireworks blooming all over the sky, trying to get rid of the shackles of the mud. To be fair, the attack of the dominating demon god's clone at this moment is almost the best display of the strength of the gods that Xiaopinggan has ever seen. Even if Xiaopinggan is in the state of becoming a god, holding the giant tower of the divine prison in his hand and trying his best to display the attack power. Compared with the attack of the master demon clone at this moment, it is slightly inferior, because Xiaopinggan's current state is still unable to fully explode the full power of the Avenue artifact in his hand. The same Avenue artifact is in the hands of the two masters. The power that explodes is completely different from that in the hands of other gods. The clone of the dominating demon god burst out with countless attacks, hitting the gray-black tentacles and things like mud, sand dunes, mist, and floods. The entire void was shaking, tearing, and shattering. The gray-black things are also shaking, tearing, and shattering. However, there were more and more gray-black things, and 100 tentacles shattered and disappeared. The next second, 1,000 tentacles appeared one after another, and the gray-black things in the void were torn and shattered, and in the shattered void, more gray-black mud and sand dunes will spew out. The attack of the dominating demon god's clone on those gray-black things is like squeezing out a huge tube of toothpaste. The more powerful the dominating demon god's attack is, the more powerful it will be. The more toothpaste comes out, all the attacks and all the power of the dominating demon will be transformed into that gray-black thing and become the power of that thing. The clone of the dominant demon god was very powerful and brave at the beginning, and the attacks he output were almost endless and never-ending. But after this continued for more than an hour, the clone of the dominant demon god became desperate, because no matter how he attacked, no matter what he used, what kind of secret techniques and tricks, even if he has used the trick that contained all secret techniques and living things as a last resort to save his life, making every pore of his body flow with the blood of 10,000 demons, none of them can stop the gray-black blood. Something overwhelmed his pace and rhythm. The surging blood sea of the blood of all demons only appeared for less than 10 seconds before it was swallowed up and absorbed by the gray-black thing. The clone of the dominant demon god was still fighting in the void, but slowly, as more and more gray-black things came to his side, the clone of the dominant demon god seemed to be gradually falling into the swamp and quicksand and struggling. Like his prey, the space around him is getting smaller and smaller, his movements are becoming more and more sluggish, and more energy is flowing out of his body and being swallowed up, while the gray-black thing next to him is getting stronger and stronger. Becoming more and more sticky, more and more powerful, and more difficult to tear. In the last roar, the clone of the dominant demon god was finally completely covered by the gray-black thing. Xiaopingan in the distance could no longer see the image of the dominant demon god's clone. A huge gray-black thing swallowed up the dominant demon god. After swallowing the dominating demon's clone, the gray-black thing remained silent for a few minutes. During these few minutes, Xiaopingan saw that there was something inside the gray-black thing that wanted to rush out. Coming out, struggling, that force caused some changes in the shape of the gray-black thing. Some places were sometimes raised, sometimes sunken, and occasionally trembled slightly. But the size of the gray-black thing is getting bigger and bigger, and the movement inside it is getting smaller and smaller. Just a few minutes later, the inside of the gray-black thing returned to calm, and then, the thing rolled towards Xiaopingan firmly and slowly. Xiaopingan knew that the clone of the dominant demon god was finished. Just a moment later, the white light in the void gradually dimmed, and a gray-black giant that was more than 10 times larger than the one that had just swallowed the master demon's clone was like a squirming gray-black planet, more like a person present in this space. The terrifying universe appeared unstoppably in front of Xiaopingan. Happy Labor Day to everyone. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1224. Facing the giant rolling mass, Xiaopingan did not run away or attack. The expression on his face was always calm, because he knew that in this scene, he had only two choices, either to conquer this giant. The object, or, like the clone of the dominant demon god, falls into ashes here and disappears from this world. If you want to escape, you can't escape. The clone of the Lord Demon God has made countless attempts just now. The space here has been completely imprisoned. The consequence of breaking the space here is just that more gray-black things will pour out from the void. That kind of thing makes that gray-black thing continue to grow. As for the attack, the avatar of the dominating demon god just now has tried it countless times. The attack of the Supreme Godhead God at the risk of his life can destroy the world with a single palm. But such an attack, all kinds of 5 elements, the secret and forbidden methods are useless in front of that gray-black giant. The Lord Demon God's attack is like using a machine gun to fight against the rolling mudslide, or like using a knife to fight against the rushing flood. That gray-black giant is fearless and swallows everything. It is simply invincible. Is this the true power of the great Dao artifact? It is so easy to destroy the gods of the highest heavenly level. Xiaopingan looked at the gray-black giant rolling in and whispered to himself. The gray-black giant should be chaos. Or to be more precise, it is the revealed side of the Dao artifact in the form of chaos, the chaos Yuanji lock, and it is the face of the Dao artifact in its innate state, like a wild beast in the mountains. This kind has not yet been discovered. When a person subdues an innate Dao artifact that has not recognized its master, it will fully display all the power of the Dao artifact, such as the rising and setting of the sun and the moon, and the movement of stars and rivers, and will naturally annihilate all living things that are close to it. The giant divine prison tower in his hand is also a great avenue artifact, and is on the same level as the chaos Yuanji lock. However, the great avenue artifact in his hand may only be in the hands of a first-level master, so it can be like this chaos Yuanji lock, fully showing its true strength. The giant tower of the divine prison is in his hands. In fact, it has never really shown the majesty of the great avenue artifact, which is a bit humiliating. Everyone thinks that at the end of entering the Yuanji Palace, Dao artifacts like the Chaos Yuanji lock can be easily captured, but they don't know that this last level is the most dangerous. If you are not careful, you will be completely swallowed by this Dao artifact. A novel app that has been running stably for many years, comparable to the old book chasing tool, and a source-changing app used by old bookworms. A wry smile appeared on Xiaoping's face. He only had one chance to conquer this great artifact. Chaos rolled in unstoppably from all directions, engulfing the entire void silently. The space in the void was getting smaller and smaller, the light in the void was getting darker and darker, and the space around Xiaoping was also getting smaller and smaller. Shrink. Emperor Tianho, the two emperors Yan and Huang, the ancestors of all the Chinese surnames, all the saints and sages, please be blessed by Master Nanhua. Whether you can conquer this Chaos Yuanji lock this time depends on whether Master Nanhua has joked with the younger generation. Xiaoping said to himself after saying a few words, he bit his own finger, and then took action against the chaos that was rolling in and devouring everything. Nanhua Zhenren is Zhuangzi. In his book Zhuangzi Chaos chapter, Zhuangzi once described the method of defeating chaos. This method is incredible and implies the supreme principle of the heaven, earth, and universe. This is why Xiaoping is so calm. The Chaos Yuanji lock in front of me has a weakness, but even the gods cannot imagine this weakness. Xiaoping's attack was not an attack or a secret method. He was injecting the power of divine faith that he could gather throughout his body into his own blood, turning his blood into a bloody rainbow, passing through the space. On top of the rolling chaos, an open mouth was first drawn. Chaos has no mouth, so Xiaoping drew a mouth on chaos. But as soon as the mouth was painted, the rolling chaos stopped all movements in an instant. The entire void and all time were completely frozen. Even Xiaoping was frozen. One day later, the frozen state disappeared, and Xiaoping became energetic. The blood on his fingers turned into a rainbow again, and he drew the nostrils of a nose on his mouth. Time and space freeze again. A full 7 days passed, and Xiaoping moved 7 times, using his own blood to open 7 orifices on the chaos, and painted a mouth, nose, ears, and eyes, and a complete face appeared. After the last eye was painted, the color of the originally gray-black huge chaotic body slowly changed, gradually from gray-black to transparent, and then from transparent to colorful and dazzling like a rainbow, and finally, then changed from colorful to the original gray-black, and then, the huge chaotic eyes slowly opened. Inside those eyes, there was a starry sky as pure and flawless as a baby, yet profound and endless, curiously looking at the world and Xiaoping. Suddenly, a gray-black torrent swept towards Xiaoping. Xiaoping looked calm, but his heart suddenly rose to his throat. When it was about to approach Xiaoping, the gray-black torrent suddenly slowed down and turned into a big human-shaped hand. It carefully lifted Xiaoping in front of the pair of eyes and looked at it quietly. Xiaoping. Xiaoping also calmly looked at the face that gradually became vivid and three-dimensional in the chaos, with 4 eyes looking at each other. A few minutes later, the chaotic mouth opened, and 2 syllables came out in an earth-shattering voice, and the whole space shook, "Dad." This sound appeared in Xiaoping's ears and in Xiaoping's consciousness, making Xiaoping's entire consciousness buzz. Xiaoping smiled, first a smile, then a laugh. "Child. Dad, I won't die, but you will die. Your body is too fragile." This was the second sentence Chaos said. "You are immortal and have been integrated with the avenue of the universe. You are the incarnation of the avenue, but everyone will die, and gods will also fall in the battle between gods," Xiaoping said calmly. "No, I don't want my father to die." Chaos's voice was like thunder. When he said this, Chaos suddenly opened his huge mouth and swallowed Xiaoping in one gulp. As soon as his vision went dark, Xiaoping found himself in a strange place. Here was an endless void. In the void, Huge cyclones-like galaxies were slowly rotating in the void. When Xiaopinggan saw the cyclone, he almost couldn't believe his eyes and couldn't help but exclaimed, "The vitality of the beginning." In this void, there is simply an endless sea of primordial vitality. The primordial vitality in any galaxy in this void is billions of times more than the primordial vitality that Xiaopinggan originally absorbed. Here the original energy of the universe is so abundant that it is unimaginable, and the original appearance of the universe and the world at the beginning of its birth is fully displayed here. In addition to the clusters of primordial vitality like clusters of galaxies, there are billions of huge colorful light clusters floating in the void, dotted like strange stars. Xiaopingyan is really wondering about those colorful clusters of light. When the light group was coming, a huge purple-red light group just happened to float in front of Xiaopinggan's eyes. Xiaopinggan looked at the light group and found that there was the aura of the dominating demon god's clone in the light group. The light ball just now seemed to be the appearance of the dominating demon god's clone after it was swallowed by chaos. Among the thousands of light groups in the void, the one that just floated past is actually not the largest. There are other light groups that are larger than the light group left by the dominating demon god's clone. Very many. Could it be that these light groups are left behind by the gods who were swallowed up by the chaos Yuanji lock? Dad, as long as your body is like mine and can be forever connected to the avenue of the universe, you will not die, and you can also become the incarnation of the avenue. The voice of chaos roared in this space. This voice, as soon as it fell, a huge rotating air mass of Teishu Yuankai in this space had surrounded Xiaopinggan, and a steady stream of Teishu Yuankai was injected into Xiaopinggan's body. Under this circumstance, the realm of Xiaopinggan's divine body of infinite Ming King began to soar like a rocket. Just when Xiaopinggan's body was still frantically absorbing Teishu Yuanqi, the purple light group with the aura of the dominating demon god's clone floated to the top of Xiaopinggan's head, and the pure and powerful divine energy directly turned into a ray of light. The beam of light fell on Xiaopinggan. Boom! Xiaopinggan's Penwang Dharma was passively activated at once. The Dharma of Xiaopinggan, who was thousands of miles tall, appeared in this space, unfolding 6 wings of light, frantically absorbing the primordial energy and divine energy. Under this situation, the divine fire on the altar of Xiaopinggan's secret mandala was being lit one by one at an unprecedented speed. The ball of light that the dominating demon god's avatar transformed into quickly disappeared, and another purple gold ball of light floated over. The ball of light split open, revealing the powerful and pure divine aura of the ancient gods and demons and the unparalleled power of the gods. Vitality and blood energy fell from the sky. In this situation, Xiaopinggan had forgotten the existence of time. He only felt that his body was getting bigger and stronger, his consciousness and spirit were constantly rising, and the divine flames on the altar were constantly igniting. Just after the divine flames on the altar were ignited to 81 rays, the ignited divine flames, under the influence of the powerful power of faith, automatically operated the mystic transformation method, and the 81 rays of divine flame suddenly merged into one mass. The brilliant divine fire shot into the sky, shaking all directions. The consciousness in the deepest part of Xiaopinggan's soul finally woke up. But even in this situation, with the arrival of Teishu Yuankai and those ancient gods and demons and gods, the divine flames on the altar of Xiaopinggan's secret mandala are still being ignited. After an unknown amount of time, another 81 rays of divine flame were ignited, and the second ball of divine fire was once again condensed by the power of faith. The divine flame is still burning. The third ball of divine fire, the fourth ball of divine fire, the fifth ball of divine fire. Golden Summoner. Author, Z.Y. Hu. Chapter 1225. 3 years and 3 months have passed in the blink of an eye since Xiaopinggan entered the Yuanji temple. In the past 3 years and 3 months, the battle between the gods who dominated the heavens and the demon gods did not stop outside the Yuanji temple. As the powerful gods from both sides arrived one after another, the battle gradually evolved into the two major forces were engaged in an all-out contest in the Sea of 10,000 Stars. The flames of the divine war were passed down from the god realm and soon spread to the entire Sea of 10,000 Stars. Facing this duel between gods, the realm of gods and demons trembled, the secret realm of spiritual wilderness trembled, and the entire realm of gods trembled. Under this situation, the entire Sea of 10,000 Stars has become a terrifying restricted area, and even the powerful gods dare not enter easily. In the Sea of 10,000 Stars outside the Xuanhuan temple, with the two major forces increasing their strength here, and with the war machines of both sides fully activated, now outside the Xuanhuan temple, the void is shattered, space storms are raging, and gods of all levels are hidden in the void. The battle fortresses of the gods on both sides faced off in the void. In the vast and endless void, from time to time there were fluctuations and confrontations of the powerful spiritual skills of the powerful gods, which seemed to be as incomparable as the battlefield in the divine world. 2. Heaven rules this side, and the prestige of the gods of heaven and the princes once again shocks the world. The side of the dominant demon god has also stabilized its position with the arrival of the demon celestial god who is known as the blood descendant of the dominant demon god. Both sides are striving to dominate the chaotic airspace outside the Xuanhuan temple. The two sides were evenly matched, and from time to time battles broke out between the Jishan gods in the void outside the Xuanhuan temple. 3 years and 3 months after entering the Xuanhuan temple, on this day, the portal of the Xuanhuan temple suddenly opened wide, and Xiaopingyan calmly walked out of the portal of the Xuanhuan temple. At this moment, the aura on Xiaopingyan's body was neither divine nor divine. He was returning to his original nature, but it was completely integrated with the void. As he walked slowly, with every gesture and gesture, what flowed was the natural charm of the Tao, which dominated everything but nothing. Obstacle. As soon as Xiaopingyan walked out of Xuanhuan temple, the entire Xuanhuan temple portal disappeared. Xiaopingyan stood in the void outside the Xuanhuan temple with his hands behind his back. The devastated Sea of 10,000 Stars reflected in his eyes as deep as the starry sky. He shook his head gently. Time flies so fast. Unexpectedly, 3 years and 3 months have passed in the blink of an eye. This chaos in the world should have come to an end, and the spiritual world should also return to its original appearance. When he first arrived in the heavenly god realm, there was no portal to enter the spiritual world. Xiaopingyan thought that the heavenly god realm did not have a spiritual world. However, it was not until this moment that Xiaopingyan knew that the spiritual world in the heavenly god realm was controlled by Chaos Xuanhuan. The lock is completely sealed. Lingshan, the core of the spiritual world, where the mandala of the Lord of Dreams in the spiritual world is located, is in the spiritual world behind the realm of gods. However, at this moment, Lingshan is occupied by a group of demons. It is smoky and desolate. It has already been there is no trace of the charm of the past, and behind those demons, when the spiritual world was destroyed, the hands and feet of the demon god were still in control. Everything has a beginning and an end. For Xiaopingyan, now is the time for everything to start again. The portal of Xuanhuan temple disappeared and someone walked out of Xuanhuan temple. This situation instantly attracted the attention of both gods in the surrounding void. Just as Xiaopingyan was looking at the surrounding void, light and shadow flashed in a space crack in the void thousands of miles away, and a god's hand covered with scales and strange blood-colored runes stretched out from the void crack. He came out, holding a bloody long black sword in his hand and stabbed out immediately. The long sword just flashed in the void, just like a strange assassin, and passed through a distance of thousands of miles in an instant. He jumped in front of Xiaopingyan and stabbed directly at Xiaopingyan's throat. The sword pointed at the void, leaving traces in the void. The entire space had been cut open, leaving a thin gap. This kind of divine method is so strange and powerful that it is difficult for people to guard against it. But Xiaopingyan didn't move. He didn't even look at the long sword that was stabbing him. The dark long sword that stabbed in front of him froze in the void. Time completely stopped at this moment, and then the longsword struck. It turned into fragments and green smoke, and was decomposed into the most primitive chaotic atmosphere and dissipated. Then, the fragments of lightning and stone fire extended into the space crack where the sword was thrust out thousands of miles away. Before the god's big hand covered with scales and strange blood-colored runes could retract from the crack in space, it began to solidify, turning into fragments and dissipating into smoke inch by inch. Then, the space crack also shattered, and the complete figure of a demon god with a height of 10,000 feet and a powerful aura of Xuanhuan godhead appeared behind the space crack. The demon god looked at the direction where Xiaoping'an appeared with fear on his face. He only had time to let out a horrified scream before the entire god's body, starting from the arms, shattered piece by piece, turned into blue smoke and chaotic aura, and dissipated directly. Even the divine fall did not appear, which means that this is complete destruction, and the kingdom of God, the mandala, and the divine fire will be annihilated and decomposed together. This scene, like a thunder, shocked all the gods from both sides who were paying attention to this battlefield. Dominate. Only when the two masters present themselves can they have such unrivaled power. The master's true self will not take the initiative to take action against low-level gods, and even if the master does not take action, the natural backlash of the laws of the Great Road that protects the master can easily annihilate the provocation and disrespect of thousands of gods. This is the supreme majesty of the Lord who governs all heavens and all realms. In the void millions of kilometers away, the battle fortresses of the gods under the command of the dominating demon god changed instantly. The battle fortresses of the gods were a powerful war fortress with integrated offense and defense composed of the artifacts of all the gods in the battle fort. When some of the gods in the castle discovered this scene, they were all heartbroken. Some of the gods who reacted quickly, brought their own artifacts, and immediately left without saying a word. As the artifacts were taken away one by one, the battle fortresses of the gods under the dominance of the demon god immediately became chaotic and tended to collapse. Xiaoping'an gently stretched out his hand, but he didn't see any secret technique being used. He was as calm as picking a fruit around him, or picking a star in the sky, millions of kilometers away from the huge giant under the command of the demon god. The god war castle shrank countless times in an instant, and appeared in one of Xiaoping'an's hands. The gods under the command of the demon god who had escaped from the god war castle were like hurried worms in Xiaoping'an's palm. No matter what he cast, no secret technique could escape from the small space of Xiaoping'an's palm. I am Xiaoping'an. Today, my merits and virtues have been perfected. I have attained the Supreme Lord's Dao. The virtue of the Dao lies in endless life. My great wish is to protect the Dao in all my life. I hope that the virtue of the Dao will benefit countless sentient beings in the universe. May all living beings in the universe live forever and achieve the great Dao. If there are gods, from the Lord to the prime heaven, those who harm the Dao are my enemies and will be suppressed by me. Xiaoping'an's voice at this moment, with supreme majesty, not only appeared in the entire sea of 10,000 stars, but even in the entire God realm and the sea of consciousness of all the powerful gods in the universe, his voice was resounding at this moment. The worlds in all directions shook at the same time. You gathered here today because you originally wanted to kill me. Due to this reason, I can destroy you all at this moment. But if you are all destroyed by me, it will go against the virtue of the yin and yang of the Great Road. Therefore, I will spare your lives today. Remember, stop, your lives are already mine, and I can take them back at any time in the future. After saying this, Xiaoping'an blew into his palms, and the battle fortresses of the gods condensed by countless artifacts in his palms instantly turned into the energy of chaos and disappeared without a trace. And the gods under the command of the demon gods in the battle fortress of the gods lost their artifacts in an instant, and were knocked down a godly rank at the same time. The gods were like blown dandelions, scattered all over the sky, defeated in an army, and fled in panic. The next second, Xiaoping'an stepped forward, and a series of golden steps and a golden portal appeared in the void. Xiaopingan calmly stepped on the steps, stepped into the portal, and disappeared into the sea of 10,000 stars. When Xiaopingan came from there, stepping out of a golden gate, you are already in the sky above the void where the most mysterious and terrifying Lord Demon Palace is located in the God realm. The huge Lord Demon Palace weighs 10,000. Outside the entire Lord Demon Palace, there is a layer of blood-stained demonic energy as thick as a galaxy. The blood-stained demonic energy is the most filthy thing in the universe. All gods who enter it will be tainted. All divine magic must be overcome. And just above the Demon Lord's palace, a big tree hangs down with thousands of precious lights, covering the entire Lord Demon Palace, preventing the blood-stained demonic energy of the Lord Demon Palace from spreading out from the God realm. Under the big tree, a young man, sitting with his eyes closed, his treasure appearance is solemn. As soon as Xiaopingan arrived, the young man sitting under the sacred tree opened his eyes and smiled slightly. "You are finally here." "Well, here I come." Xiaopingan also smiled. "Even if you are a cultivator, it is not easy to become a god from the beginning. Although it took a little time, fortunately, it didn't delay anything important." Zhangtai. Within the Lord Demon Palace, the angry roar of the Lord Demon God rang out. "You still lost to me." The young man smiled happily. "You and I have been entangled for so many years, let's make a break today. In fact, there was no need for you and me to break up. We can just play our own way. Isn't it? It's just that you are too noisy and your brain doesn't work well. You always want to build your demonic pool of blood sea in the God realm. When your demonic pool is built, all the races in the universe will be annihilated and become your demonic pool. Raw materials, all your demon sons and grandsons have become gods one by one. From now on, there will be only one color and one race in the universe. How can you say that there is no fun in these heavens and realms? How boring is this? Life goes on forever. If nothing else, I went out to find a girl to chat about life and couldn't find. You said you are hateful, should I seal you away? All my wives said you were hateful, even my wife's family, the mother-in-law who sells tofu next door, also said that you are disgusting. If I don't hum you, my wives won't agree. It's indeed hateful." Xiaopingan smiled and walked towards the Demon Lord's palace. At this moment, Xiaopingan looked very much like the tattoo of Fudo Mingu that he had on his back before. Countless golden flames appeared behind him, spreading across the void, dominating the blood-stained demonic energy outside the demon palace that could ban all gods and secrets. As soon as it touched the golden flame on Xiaopingan's body, it burned and dissipated into the energy of chaos. The Wujian divine prison surrounded by chaos Yuanji locks appeared in Xiaopingan's hands. At this time, the two Dao artifacts merged into one, with an invincible aura that was enough to suppress the dominant demon, shaking the void and the world. Xiaopingan just took out the artifact, and the Lord Demon Palace could no longer withstand the extreme pressure brought by the combination of the two Dao artifacts. It was instantly shattered. The Lord Demon Palace appeared in front of Xiaopingan like an eternal hill, looking up to the sky. Roar! Xiaopingan blasted out a blow, and the golden flames filled the entire void. When the golden flames dissipated, the space in front of him became clear. The dominating demon god, the dominating demon palace, and the blood-stained demonic energy all disappeared. The young man put away the sacred tree, Xiaopingan put away the great avenue artifact in his hand, and the two met again in the void. "Where are you going next? Are you coming to the God realm?" the young man asked Xiaopingan. "Do you still remember what you tried to protect with your sword in Black Flame City that year?" Xiaopingan smiled. "I won't come to the God realm anymore. I will stay in the mortal world. I will always protect those ordinary things. They are so cute around ordinary people, I can't bear to let them go. Then, please." Xiaopingan waved his hand, turned around and left. The young man looked at Xiaopingan's leaving figure. Unknowingly, his eyes were filled with tears and a smile. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1226. The early morning sunshine shines like gold on the grassland full of flowers of various colors. Just on the edge of the grassland, a crystal clear stream slowly flows down from the mountains. The pebbles in the stream look like gems in the sun of sparkling. A black ant was washed down by the stream from the mountain and was struggling desperately in the stream. To that tiny ant, this slow stream was like a surging river, sweeping through it. The ants falling into it are like being swept away by an insignificant grain of dust, rushing towards an unknown and terrible fate. Just when the ant was rising and falling in the stream, suddenly, a small branch stretched into the stream from the side. The struggling ant immediately grabbed the branch in the stream and held it tightly. He lay on the branch and steadied his figure. The branch that extended into the stream slowly left the stream and was placed on the grass next to it. The ant was finally rescued. The person holding the branch was a cute little girl of 5 or 6 years old lying beside the stream. The little girl's bright black eyes were shining with flawless light, and there was a lovely apple-red color on her milky white cheeks. Her fat little hands were clenched in fists and squeezing the branches. She looked particularly serious. The girl had a prick on her head. She has 2 cute little pigtails, a yellow floral skirt, and is barefoot, which makes her look particularly lovely. An emerald green bird was jumping around on the little girl's head. Several colorful butterflies fluttered around the little girl. 2 squirrels stood with the little girl, looking straight at the little girl. The girl used a wooden stick to rescue the little ants that fell into the water in the stream. There was also a big black dog following the little girl, watching the little girl like a bodyguard. The big black dog is the black dragon, but at this moment, the black dragon's head is not only wearing a pair of sunglasses, but also a childish and cute scrawled garland of wildflowers. On the black dragon's body, there are 2 small straw baskets woven from grass, which look a little funny. Looking at the little ant that climbed down from the branch and quickly burrowed into the grass, the little girl showed a satisfied smile, stretched out her little hand, rubbed the black dragon's head and ears, and kissed the black dragon's head. After a few clicks, Black Dragon, what Dad said is true. You can indeed see a little ant that fell into the water here today. Woof woof. Black Dragon barked twice. Black Dragon, how about we go pick up colorful shells? There must be many beautiful shells on the beach today. The little girl said, then looked at the small animals around her, and asked seriously, you guys go? If you don't go, I'll teach you how to swim in the sea, it'll be fun. The butterfly and the kingfisher flew away. The 2 squirrels looked at each other, shook their heads quickly, and went into the bushes. If you don't want to go, then I'll go and pick up the shells and show them to you. The little girl said, already happily running towards the distant sea like a gust of wind, and the black dragon quickly followed. The little girl ran to the beach. There were not many shells on the beach, but when the little girl was looking for them, turtles, crabs, and even octopuses crawled out of the waves. The turtles bit them with their mouths. Beautiful shells, the crab holds the shell with its front claws, and the octopus uses its long tentacles to roll up the shell, and the beautiful pearls are placed on the beach, and then quietly return with the waves. See. In just a moment, the beach was decorated with colorful colors. Not only that, even the waves and water lines on the beach turned into cute heart shapes, and all of this happened naturally. Looking at these beautiful shells on the beach, the little girl screamed with joy. The soft beach was full of footprints left by the little girl. More than an hour later, the little girl had collected a lot of beautiful shells and put them all in the straw basket on the black dragon. A voice came. Yaya, it's time to go home for dinner. As this voice appeared, a graceful and beautiful woman had already walked to the edge of the beach. The woman was also wearing a yellow floral dress, which looked very similar to the dress worn by the little girl. This woman was Cao. Mom. When the woman arrived, the little girl who was picking up shells called out and rushed towards the grass happily, "Mom, I picked up a lot of beautiful shells today." "Really? Yaya is so good." Cao took the little girl's hand and left the beach. Black Dragon followed the two of them. After a while, the two came to a huge manor between the mountains and the sea. "Mom, are those uncles and aunties who came to see Dad still in Dad's study?" The little girl who entered the manor looked at a building in the manor and asked Cao next to her. "Still here." He carelessly touched the little girl's hair and said with a smile, "They are all Dad's good friends. They haven't seen Dad for many years. Yaya will have some fun when she meets those uncles and aunts when we have dinner later. Be polite." "I know." The little girl nodded and wrinkled her nose. "Those aunts are all very nice, but that white-haired uncle doesn't look like a good person. Humph, he actually wanted me to give him money as soon as he saw me. I don't want my son to be my wife, you bad guy." Just when the little girl and Cao entered the manor, Xiaopingan, who was in the study, was looking at Yan Duo, who suddenly sneezed and trembled, and smiled slightly. "Strange, why did I suddenly get cold and shiver? My body has never felt like this since I entered the 8-Yang realm. Could it be that there were too many demonic insects that were eliminated in Lingshan recently, and the soul power absorbed too much is too sensitive?" Yan Duo touched his nose and muttered to himself, then looked at Xiaopingan with curiosity on his face. "By the way, what did you say just now, Yuanji Temple? What is going on with the Dao artifacts in Yuanji Temple? Can these Dao artifacts be integrated with each other? They can actually seal the dominating demon." In the study room, apart from Yan Duo, all the friends from the Order Committee on WA Planet, Tupolu, Fang Lingshan, and Qing, Li Yunzhou, Mo Yanshao, and others were all here. It was a rare gathering of friends who had not seen each other for many years. Everyone was very interested in Xiaopingan. They were all extremely curious about their experiences, and everyone wanted to know what Xiaopingan had experienced. Even though those things have changed over time, when Xiaopingan, who has experienced them, tells them, everyone is still so nervous that they hold their breath and are excited. The Dao artifact in the Yuanji temple is the Chaos Yuanji lock, and my Dao artifact is the Infinite Divine Prison. Both of them, individually, have the powerful power to seal the gods, and can also threaten the dominant demon god, but to the dominant demon god, generally speaking, a single Dao artifact cannot seal him. What can really seal him is the ultimate form of the fusion of these two Dao artifacts, the Chaos Yuanji Infinite Divine Prison. Together, they can create a greater form than Dao. The power of the Great Avenue of Chaos and Sealing is stronger than that of the artifact. The power of the Great Avenue of Chaos and Sealing is the best in all the worlds. It can restrain all the secret methods of the dominating demon and destroy the dominating demon palace. I mastered this at the same time in the Yuanji temple. After acquiring two Dao artifacts, I instantly realized that this is also my mission. Although I haven't reached that level yet, what I don't understand is why the dominant demon is not killed instead of just sealed. Isn't this too advantageous for him? Tupolu raised his eyebrows and asked in a rough voice. Road. Killing the dominant demon god is a way to relieve hatred. However, for an existence of the dominant demon god's level, fighting without defeat is the highest state. If the dominant demon god is killed, there will definitely be an existence in the universe that can replace it. Dao will find a new balance, which must be a catastrophe for the universe and all realms. Xiaopingan pointed to a black and white Tai Chi diagram hanging in the study. Everyone looked at this Tai Chi diagram, each one thinking deeply, and seemed to understand something. When leaving the study, Li Yunzhou finally found an opportunity. He came to Xiaopingan thiefly and blinked at Xiaopingan. "Where are your other wives?" "Ahem." Xiaopingan was a little embarrassed and touched his nose. they are each pregnant now, and they took their children to the secret realm to raise their babies one by one. After hearing this, several men present quietly gave Xiaopingan a thumbs up. After hearing this, Enqing glanced at Xiaopingan with some resentment. There was also a pair of resentful eyes staring at Xiaopingan at this time. He was one of Xiaopingan's personal servants, but he looked a bit sinister. At this moment, he looked at Xiaopingan eagerly. "Master, you said before that you would find me my wife, the Chaos Dragon. Can you bear to see an ancient beast like me who is so loyal to you become a single dog? The Black Dragon has given birth to several litters of cubs, and several mistresses have said that they want to find one for me. A wife can give birth to a bunch of chaotic dragons, just enough to keep young ladies and gentlemen company, and they can also be used as mounts in the future. If you don't find one for me, I will find that the demonic insects in the spiritual world look so pretty these days when I look at them. Men, you still have to shoulder your responsibilities as a man." Young Master Mo Yan suddenly said something meaningful. "Yeah, don't keep others waiting. Someone is always very thin-skinned." Fang Lingshan said something meaningful. "It's strange, am I thin-skinned?" The Chaos Polong turned into a human body and touched his face strangely. Fang Lingshan gave him a blank look. "We already have so many wives, it's okay to have one more," Yan Duo also muttered. "Anyway, the master's physical strength can keep up, right? What are you afraid of, ah?" Xiaopingan directly kicked the bastard Yan Duo away. The life of the summoners continues, their duty to protect the peace of the world continues, and so do their happiness and troubles. End of book.